G'day and welcome to Building Australia. Today's show, we're going to talk about HRV systems and their importance in a modern energy efficient home, in particular in an airtight home. Today's show is sponsored by Passivetech, and Drew from Passivetech is joining us today. Thanks for joining us, Drew.
No, thanks for having me, Andy.
You're welcome. So in a modern energy efficient airtight home, what's so important about having a HRV system?
Well, I believe it's fresh air.
Yep.
So 24/7, you have filtered fresh air.
Lungs.
Lungs basically gets all the, all the particle matter right down to a fine particulate.
Yeah.
So very, very healthy, good, clean air.
Yeah. So we're not just circulating that air within the building, are we? We're able to take fresh air from outside when we need it, whilst also being airtight. So tell us a bit about how that's going to work.
Yep. So the right amount of air, we basically want to change over the air around 8 times in 24 hours, the whole volume of the building.
Yeah.
Right. So every 3 hours, the whole house will change over at least one time.
Yeah.
So it's filtering the air, but bringing fresh, filtered air in 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So, but it recovers all the heat or cool.
Yeah, and that's the magic with the HRV unit compared to other exhaust fans. So we conventionally have a couple of exhaust fans, laundry, bathroom, maybe a range hood extraction can go outside, but with this, we're not losing that preheated air. We're making the most of that. So how does that happen?
Yeah, so basically you get rid of your exhaust fans now. So we use our system and the ventilation system, and we've got an extract in the bathroom and we're extracting all that stale, moist air, and we're replacing it with good, clean, fresh air from outside. But the house remains balanced. Yeah. So the amount of air that's going in is the amount of air that's going out is coming back in again.
Be matched.
It's going to be matched. So the house is balanced. So normally an exhaust fan, you'll pull up to 200 to 300 cubic meters of air, which is a fair bit of air out, in an hour. And that air's got to come from outside. Yeah,
it's just going to be replaced from all the gaps under doors.
Correct, and through insulation, through cracks, and that can come from a mouldy roof space with mycotoxins, and it's just not healthy.
And in winter, when you turn the fan on in a conventional home, you're expelling all that air out, which is warm and preheated. You've invested in that air by heating it.
Correct.
And you're replacing it with this cold air from outside through gaps in windows and doors. That doesn't make sense. So we're not just trying to, have fresh air. We're also trying to maintain and restore that energy that you've invested in heating or cooling the building. So a conventional 3-bedroom home, how many of these ducts, these points, can we expect to have?
I reckon generally around 6. So you'll have a couple in the living, maybe a study, 3 in the bedroom, and then 1 in each bathroom,
and
1 in the toilet,
exhaust.
And they're exhaust.
Yeah. And maybe an exhaust in the kitchen.
Yep.
And they're generally laid out in such a way that you're going to have airflow through the house. So there's no stale pockets of air anywhere in the house.
That's right.
Okay.
And these grills do co-ander.
Yep.
So they throw across the ceiling and mix very nicely.
Yeah, and also I think they're adjustable. So when you're commissioning these systems, you're also being able to sort of balance the air out so that one fan's not doing all the work like my system at the moment, where one fan just is too cold and the other rooms aren't getting any benefit at all from the evaporative system. So,
correct.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff.
That's good.
So why don't we have a look at a real unit here, Drew, and have a bit of discussion about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
Beautiful, Andy.
Right, so Drew, this is the Zender 375 unit.
Correct, yep.
So talk us through what's happening here. This is a bit of a foreign concept for a lot of people.
All right, so in a normal house, you're around 20 odd degrees, and say it's 0 degrees outside. Yep. So the air that's coming in through can be 0 degrees, say 0 to 5.
Yeah.
And the air coming out of your house is 20 degrees.
Yeah.
And through this core, it gets filtered. The air comes through, captures over 90% of the heat, up to 95% of the heat.
Yep.
And then puts filtered air back inside at around 19 degrees. So you're capturing...
losing maybe 1 degree.
Maybe one degree, correct.
And so essentially, as that air is exhausting, it's crossing over this this core here and retaining all the heat in here. There's some ceramic filters, ceramic elements in here. Is that correct?
No, this is just a really high grade plastic, and that gets the most amount of heat transfer. So
and when the little brain in here decides, right, we need to balance that out with some fresh air, that fresh air from outside is coming across this core again before it returns into our home and preheating.
Correct.
So any investment of energy inside the house is not lost. We're not just shooting that air outside and forgetting about it. We're retaining almost all that heat, 95%?
Up to 95%, yeah.
Which is pretty incredible. And then we've got these couple of filters here. These just, what, once a year?
Yeah, once a year. You can give them a vacuum every sort of 3 to 4 months.
Yep.
And then...
Again, depending on where you live, some places I've seen, they do all this once a year. So.
Yep, that's it. So these filters are very clean. They're white now, but they will go really black. Yeah. So, and then, once a year, these have to be changed. These type of filters, because the particulate is so fine, you need to unfortunately throw away these filters. But that's stopping all that particulate matter going in your lungs.
So maybe once a year you're changing these filters over?
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah, once a year.
And that guy there is filtering the air before it comes back into the building, is that correct?
Yep. So from outdoor air comes through this fine particulate filter, F7.
Yep.
And that basically takes out all particulate matter.
Yeah. And then this filter here is really doing the opposite, but it's protecting the unit.
The unit, correct. Yeah. So that's those little filters we looked at before. They're gonna filter at the housing.
Do all the heavy lifting.
Do all the heavy lifting.
Cheap. Yeah.
Correct. And then this will protect the unit. Yeah.
So those little, we can't find them now, but those little sort of conical shaped filters, they're pretty cheap, pretty throwaway.
They are correct. Yeah. They're only a couple of dollars each, just G4 fabric.
You'd be using a few of those to preserve these ones.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
So.
And in terms of cost for a system like this for 3-4 bedroom home, supply and install, what are people looking at?
Yeah, you're looking at around $12,000 to $15,000 for this particular system installed,
which is kind of similar to a lot of ducted systems, which in a high performance home you can do away with. So in terms of the cost position, it's fairly neutral because you're getting rid of one whole device that you don't need. And replacing it with something which is actually doing the opposite of a ducted heating system, which is not good for indoor air quality, whereas this is similar to like hospital grade air quality inside your home.
Yeah, but we do still require a little bit of heating and cooling. So generally a couple of little split systems. Yeah. So
in terms of the heating demand that it might have, it's going to have maybe 1/4 thereabouts, and depending on how you live in the home also. If you like to leave windows open and doors open, those sort of factors are going to determine how long you turn a heater on for. But typically, from my experience, people describe turning on a hot day, turning the air conditioning on for half an hour brings the temperature down and it stays there.
Yeah, so you just want to dehumidify as well most of the time, so get some moisture out of the air.
Yeah, that's right. So this has a condensate drain?
It does as well. So it will, when the times of high humidity, the core will capture some moisture and it will drop down the drain. So this will have
and often that can be connected to like, your sink in the laundry or something like that.
Any sewer point. So.
And this little brain, this sort of takes all the guesswork out of it for homeowners as well, doesn't it? This is sort of just working in the background constantly. So is there anything a homeowner needs to be thinking about doing?
Pretty much it's got a temperature sensor in it. So you can set your comfort level. So it's got a comfort temperature setting. So say you like the house at 21 degrees. It's not saying the house is going to be at 21, but the unit will try and maintain 21 degree air and it'll open and close the bypass inside.
Right, okay. If it needs to sort of freshen up, bring it up or down a bit.
Correct. So if temperatures drop outside and it's hot inside, well then it's going to try and bring more cold air, not bring it through the core, but bring it bypass the core and bring that colder air in to try and cool the house down, and vice versa in winter.
And that's clever. So it's just checking air temperature on the way in and air temperature on the way out and making all these decisions for you that you couldn't really hope to do. You just have to sort of, open a window maybe. But this is really making all those decisions for you. Right. So Drew, this is going to be great for a new build. What about when we want to do a retrofit, which I actually want to do myself very soon?
Yeah. So
tell me about this guy.
All right. So this is a decentralized system.
Yep.
So this particular unit has actually got the fan and the core, cross counterflow core, exactly as you see like this one, inside the wall.
Yeah.
So you need a semi-decent wall thickness, otherwise we just put a flashing on the outside.
Yeah, you've got that.
Yeah, and all you see is that faceplate on the outside.
Yeah, and on the inside, you've got this little control panel there, maybe a couple of settings.
That's right, yeah. So you can alter the settings if you want to.
Yeah.
And this is basically all you'll see on the outside.
Yeah.
So just that cover plate.
And then this is really only moving a trickle of air, but constantly.
Correct.
Whilst also retaining any of the heat and filtering the room.
That's right. So these will do up to around 90% efficiency as well.
Yeah.
So which is really good.
Yeah.
So around up to 60 cubic meters of air, these will move. Yep.
Yeah. So you can expect, depending on the size of the house, to change the entire volume of the air twice a day, depending on the size of the house.
Yeah, pretty much. So 60 cubes, depending on the volume. Yep.
Which isn't enough to really notice that airflow at all.
No, you won't feel any drafts or anything like that. You'd normally run them on around 30 or 40 cubes, so you'd have a couple of those in your house for fresh air. So,
and if you had this potentially one upstairs, one downstairs, would that still work?
Yeah. One would be doing upstairs and one would be doing downstairs, because these are balanced. These are air in and air out.
Yeah.
And they will, and they just constantly circulate the air. Yeah.
And then in terms of installing these, we really just need that circular hole, get some power to it, like just plug it in.
Yeah, it's just got simple little connections for an electrician. So very easy.
Very simple connection. Yeah.
Correct.
And if we were to put a pair of these in a home, what are people roughly expecting to pay?
Yeah, so the units themselves are around 2,000 plus GST. These are particularly a really, really good quality brand. You can get much cheaper decentralized units, but these are the Zender brand, and they all come from Europe. Yeah. But
so two units, so it'd be about $4,000 plus. Yep. Plus the install.
Plus the install, correct. And they can be done by electrician, or I can install them, or homeowners can install these ones pretty easy.
And generally the warranty on all these products, I know typically with German stuff, they have pretty comprehensive warranties. What are we talking about?
They do. So the units themselves, we give a 5-year warranty.
Wow.
Yep.
You don't really hear that much these days anymore, do you? No, 5-year warranty, that's pretty good.
So it's really good, especially on electrical appliances. So
yeah.
It's good.
All right, well, let's have a look at the rest of the units that put all this together in the home. So to bring all this together, the HRV unit has got all this other ducting going to it. Let's have a little look at that, huh?
Yeah, so we've got the polyethylene ducting tubing.
What's different about this compared to the other sort of ducting you'd see in most homes?
Right, so normally you'd have a big flexible aluminium duct.
Easy to puncture.
Yeah, correct. Easy to rip, but this
thing's quite rigid.
Very solid. Yeah. So we call this a semi-rigid ducting.
Yep.
We can still go around corners.
Yep.
But it's got a few really good principles. So it's antimicrobial, anti-static.
Yep.
So dust doesn't like to stick to the walls.
Yep.
And it's got a smooth inner core, which you probably can't see.
Yeah, so that's going to keep the noise to a minimum as well.
Correct, but it's healthy.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of putting a ventilation system is to keep you healthy.
Yeah.
So no dust, mold, or anything can grow on this pipe.
And I've actually seen on one of these systems, actually the ones that I think you guys installed maybe 8 years ago, and we looked inside the duct. After 8 years, I put my finger in there, nothing. Yeah. No dust, no moisture, no nothing. So the proof is there for me.
Correct.
And this little register here,
So basically that's all you're going to see once it's installed.
Yeah.
This housing sits above the plaster line.
So that's going to be, if you take that.
Yep, take that out. Yep.
Pre-plaster in, often we're going to have like a suspended ceiling, so we've got room for this.
Correct.
So that's coming up there somewhere.
Yep.
And that little register's sitting there.
Yep. That's it.
Fairly minimal to look at as well.
Yeah, about 30 millimeters. Yeah. We also do have flat grills, which can sit flush with the ceiling if need be.
Okay. Yeah.
But they don't co-ander quite like the Luna supply grills.
Yeah, that's really going to shoot in all directions.
Correct.
Whereas this guy here really can only go down.
You could put this on the wall and it shoots out, so that's okay. But generally we keep those off the ceiling.
Yeah. And this little filter is for our exhaust, is that correct?
Yes. So our extract air out of the ceiling, it basically sits on the grill.
Yeah.
And this is to prevent any dust that goes back to through the ducting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so every sort of 6 months, you can sort of give this a bit of a clean. They're washable.
I was going to say dishwasher.
Yeah. Just rinse them out with
rinse?
with some soap and put them back in and away you go. So I've had mine for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And they just replace it. Like they're just you can just reuse those. So.
And then these ducts here, these are a bit more substantial, aren't they? What are these guys doing, Drew?
Correct. So this is our intake.
Yep.
And our exhausts.
Yeah.
So off the top of the unit, which we've just seen, these ducts come from inside, go from outside to the unit and back outside again. So there's 2 of these.
Yeah.
Now these are the big, you really need to have a bulkhead or have the unit on an outside wall, just so you don't have, because they are pretty big.
Yeah.
But this is for a typical 3-4 bedroom house. You need this size duct.
Yeah.
So
it's essentially the equivalent of like a bit of laundry cupboard somewhere. You're going to
Correct.
have to sacrifice for this, but
That's right.
Yeah.
But these are insulated.
yeah.
So, but it still does. It's still a lot better than your traditional aluminium flex.
Yeah.
Because it's got a smooth inner core
Yeah.
and it's easily cleanable.
Yeah.
So air coming from outside, some dust and dirt over the years, because you've only got a grill, it's not a fine filter on the outside.
Yeah.
Then you could just run a snake through and clean it very easy.
Yeah,
So it's easily cleanable.
And I think that's really location dependent as well, because I've seen this in some sort of rural settings where the filters are spotless.
Yeah.
It's going to be different in an urban environment where you've got a lot of traffic dust.
Correct.
Industry, but
Yeah.
it's obviously depends where you live. So this guy here is our manifold.
Yep. That's right. So it's our silencer.
Yep.
And it acts as a manifold as well.
Yeah,
So
okay.
all those white pipes,
Yeah.
they hook into the top.
Yeah.
So there'll be 6 pipes.
Merging into here.
This particular 3-bedroom, 4-bed, it'll be 6 going into 1.
Yeah.
And then this is where all the so it gets silenced before it goes back into the machine.
Yeah.
And the machine itself, it gets silenced before it goes out.
Yeah.
So
And
it takes all the fan noise out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And also the machines themselves are incredibly efficient too electrically.
Very efficient.
Yeah.
They only run at around 20 to 30 watts
Yeah.
per hour,
Yeah.
which is only a couple of light globes.
It's a trickle, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. I mean, when you think about, especially when you think about the size of it, it's really just a trickle of energy.
Yeah, very efficient fans.
Yeah. Yeah. And this guy here, is this part of our external installation?
Yeah, so when we're building these airtight houses and weathertight, this is the grommet. It's a Roflex 200. We get them from Pro Climber, so performance membranes.
Yep.
And they basically just go on the outside of this pipe. And then this gets...
By the time you stretch that over, that's not going anywhere, is it?
No.
Yeah.
So that is that's airtight and that's watertight.
Yeah,
and then weathertight. So it just gets taped on a diamond shape outside.
Yeah. And the diamond shape is intentionally to shed the water.
Correct, that's right. And that is taped airtight and weathertight.
Yeah.
So
fantastic stuff.
That's very good.
Yeah. All right. So if you'd like to know any more about HRV systems, or if you're heading down the path of building energy efficient or a full certified passive house, these are the sorts of conversations you want to be having with your architect, and getting someone like Drew on board really early. Resolve these problems before you start building, and then when you do start building, you've answered all these questions, because there's a lot to know. Technology changes, so have these conversations early and you'll have a successful build. Thanks so much for joining us today, Drew. It was a pleasure, and we'll see you all for the next one. Thanks.
Attaboy. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.